It's irritating me, so it's probably, let's try that. Mr. Chester, I'm struck that I can speak about chemical providers in Wuhan sending chemicals here that are precursors for fentanyl that are used by Mexican cartels or else shipped directly. You can acknowledge it in your testimony. Now, we think of China as an area where they have surveillance cameras on every corner, in which at any point someone may be arbitrarily imprisoned. I could go on, but we know what the go on would be. So how much collaboration are we getting from the Chinese in terms of this? Because someone has suggested this is a form of bioterrorism.
Yes, Senator. No, thank you very much for the question. I could tell you that we engage regularly with the People's Republic of China on this specific issue. And although, as you know, we have a very complicated relationship with China, this is an area where U.S. and PRC interests align. And we have made progress in the past. The most notable was our work up until May of 2019.
Let me stop you, though. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
But if we know who those chemical manufacturers are, the Chinese know who they are. So, yes, there may be collaboration.
Right.
But there's a fundamental breakdown here, right?
Yes, sir. And the first thing is ensuring we have open lines of communication so the information that we have, that we understand about seizures in the Western Hemisphere can be sent to the Chinese so that they can take action on it. The second part of that is, and something that we've clearly communicated to the Chinese, and you mentioned it in your opening statement. I think you brought up a very good point when you talk about the mislabeling. We have asked the Chinese government to do three very simple things. The first one is agree with us on the list of unregulated chemicals that are used to create precursor chemicals that bear increased scrutiny. That's the first thing. The second thing is to properly label their chemical and equipment shipments in accordance with the World Trade Organization. And the third one is that they know their customer and put know your customer procedures into place. Those are the things we should expect of any responsible country. We've asked other countries to do this as well, and we look forward to working with the Chinese for them to implement these procedures to reduce the flow of these precursor chemicals into the Western Hemisphere.
Now, we've been raising this issue with the Chinese for several years now. So I guess what I'm after, which I'm not sure I'm getting, is a level of collaboration, true collaboration, as opposed to, hey, we're with you, as opposed to, no, we're knocking on doors and we're shutting down people and we're throwing them in jail.
Right. I would tell you that in the relationship that we have with Chinese, with the PRC, has given us uneven progress. I won't disagree with you on that. I think that there are areas where the Chinese government has taken quick and decisive action at a request of the United States, and it's had good results. I think there are other times that we have differences with the government of China procedurally on certain things that we ask them to do, and we have to ensure that we continue to communicate with them and press to them how incredibly important this is, not just the United States, but to the rest of the world. And other countries, and Secretary Blinken brought this up in his speech about China, other countries should expect two great countries like the United States and the PRC to work together on this global issue, and they understand that.
Now, looking at Mexico, now you have a sense that Mexico is always teetering on whether or not it's in control or not, and several states apparently are not in control of the central government. But to what degree has the Mexican government collaborated with us if these cartels are bringing these drugs from China to then bring across our border? To what degree are we getting collaboration there?
We have a good and long-standing relationship with the government of Mexico, which was solidified in the bicentennial framework for security that was signed just a few months ago that replaces the previous Merida initiative. That is a little bit more holistic and takes in more of the contributing factors within Mexico, not just the security side of the house. And we have on the ground, we have a large embassy down there. We have deep law enforcement relationships with the government of Mexico, and we have had cooperation in the past, and most recently, obviously, the apprehension of Rafael Caro Quintero is a good example of cooperation with the government of Mexico that actually bears fruit.
Now, but I had a sense that recently there was some increased liability for some of our agents who might be down there should something go wrong. And I also had a sense that President, or I'll just call him AMLO, the President of Mexico, has less affection for the U.S. than perhaps some of his predecessors. Any comment on that?
What you're referring to is the national security law that was put in place in January of last year that created a bunch of increased procedures for collaboration between Mexican and U.S. law enforcement agencies. I think on the ground that has been worked out in practical terms that it's not had a devastating effect on law enforcement cooperation in Mexico. That's not uniform across all agencies, but I think in general terms, the national security law isn't a barrier from us working with New Mexico. But I think it is clear that President Lopez Obrador sees really two things. The first one is he wants to go after the root causes of criminality. And the second thing is he continually looks at the U.S.-Mexico relationship in terms of Mexico's interests as much as United States interests. And so it has caused a recasting of our relationship with Mexico, but we have made some progress on this particular problem when working with the government of Mexico.
I yield.
Thank you. Senator Murphy.
Thank you very much.